A rookie just broke Caitlin Clark's record before Caitlin Clark even suited up this season. Not a record from 10 years ago. Not some obscure stat buried in the archives. A record Clark set 2 years ago, one that was supposed to define the new era of women's basketball. And the player who broke it isn't even the most hyped rookie in the WNBA this year. She's someone half the league barely saw coming. Her name is Olivia Miles. And right now, she is forcing the entire basketball world to ask an uncomfortable question. What happens when the record breaker gets outpaced by the next record breaker? Set up. Here's the situation in one sentence. Olivia Miles, the number 2 pick in the 2026 WNBA draft out of TCU, is putting together one of the fastest starts to a rookie season in league history. Faster, in some categories, than Caitlin Clark's own historic 2024 debut. Miles reached certain career milestones in 21 and 22 games. Clark needed 22 and 24 games to hit the same marks. She's already sitting ahead of Clark's pace for total points in a rookie season, though that comparison comes with an asterisk we'll get into. And she did it while playing for a Minnesota Lynx team stacked with veterans, not as the lone franchise centerpiece. But this story isn't really about box scores. It's about what happens when comparisons turn into a culture war. Fans picked sides. Analysts weighed in. And a stat line quietly turned into one of the most heated debates in the sport, the story. Let's go back to the beginning. Olivia Miles built her name at Notre Dame before transferring to TCU, where she was named Big 12 Player of the Year in 2026. She entered the WNBA draft with a reputation as an elite floor general, a pass-first point guard with a vision to make everyone around her better. Minnesota took her with the 2nd overall pick. Not the splashiest landing spot in terms of media attention, but arguably the smartest. The Lynx were already a contender. Miles didn't need to carry a franchise on day one. She just needed to fit in and produce. She did more than that. Through the first stretch of the season, Miles was averaging close to 19 points, nearly 5 rebounds, and over 5 assists a night. Those numbers alone are strong for any rookie. But then everything changed when the milestones started stacking up. In one game, she became the fastest player in WNBA history to reach 350 points, 100 rebounds, and 100 assists, doing it in 21 games. The old record, 22 games, belonged to 2 players, Caitlin Clark and former Charlotte Sting guard Andrea Stinson. In another outing, Miles sank 8 3-pointers in a single game, one more than Clark's rookie season best. She also posted the most points by a rookie in a single half. Individually, these are impressive footnotes. Together, they built a narrative. The next great point guard might already be here, and her name isn't Caitlin Clark. Escalation. That's when the situation took another turn. Because in women's basketball right now, no storyline exists in a vacuum. Everything gets measured against Clark, whether players want that comparison or not. Miles' fastest pace numbers to 350, 100, 100 immediately triggered comparisons across sports media. Some outlets ran headlines framing it as Miles beating Clark's pace. Fans on social media split instantly. One side celebrated Miles as a generational passer finally getting her due. The other pushed back hard, arguing the comparison wasn't fair to begin with. Here's where the controversy actually lives. Clark's rookie season came during a 40-game schedule in 2024. Miles is playing in a 44-game season. 4 extra games change the math on any counting stat. When you look at points per game instead of total points, Clark's rookie average still sits ahead of where Miles' pace currently projects. However, there was one problem with dismissing Miles too quickly. Some of her milestones, like games to reach a stat threshold, aren't affected by schedule length the same way total season projections are. Reaching 350, 100, 100 in 21 games is 21 games, regardless of how many games are left on the calendar. That part of the record is clean, so both sides had a case. And that's exactly the kind of gray area that fuels an online firestorm. Then came a second layer to the controversy, one that had nothing to do with stats at all. Miles had an off night against the Golden State Valkyries, shooting just 1 for 10 from the field with 6 turnovers, though she still contributed defensively with steals and blocks in a Lynx win. Clark's fan base pounced. Critics argued Miles hadn't faced the level of defensive attention Clark deals with every single night, and that her rough shooting performance proved it. Then the conversation shifted again. Miles picked up a technical foul for arguing with officials during a game against Dallas, and some fans immediately noted the difference in how that moment was covered compared to similar incidents involving Clark. Commentators like Jason Whitlock weighed in on the broader comparison between the 2 players, and other voices online accused media figures of applying a double standard. arguing that fiery, competitive moments get framed as passion for some players and as an attitude problem for others. Suddenly, this wasn't just a basketball story. It became a conversation about fairness, coverage, and how differently two rising stars get treated by the same fan base. Bigger picture. So why does any of this actually matter beyond a few days of arguing online? Because the WNBA is in the middle of the biggest growth spurt in its history, and Caitlin Clark has been the face of that growth. Attendance, ratings, merchandise sales, all of it spiked when Clark entered the league in 2024. That created enormous pressure on every rookie who comes after her to either measure up or get compared unfavorably, fairly or not. Olivia Miles landing on a winning team in a lower profile market with a roster full of proven veterans gives her a different path than the one Clark walked. She's not the sole reason people tune in. She's a piece of a contender, and that context matters when judging her rookie season honestly. At the same time, her play has real stakes for this year's Rookie of the Year race and for Minnesota's push in the Western Conference. The Lynx have used Miles as a legitimate table setter, not a symbolic addition. If she keeps this pace, she's not just chasing Clark's shadow. She's building her own case as a franchise cornerstone for years to come. There's also a longer-term angle here. Analysts have started floating Miles as a potential MVP caliber talent down the road in a league where guards rarely win the award. The last true guard MVP was Diana Taurasi back in 2009. If Miles, Clark, or Paige Bueckers eventually breaks that drought, it reshapes how teams build their rosters and how the league markets its stars. For now, though, the story is still being written in real time. Every milestone Miles hits gets measured against Clark, whether that's the right comparison or not. Every rough shooting night gets used as ammunition by whichever side of the debate is currently losing the argument. That's the trap of being compared to someone before you've even had the chance to define yourself on your own terms. Olivia Miles isn't trying to be the next Caitlin Clark. She's trying to be the first Olivia Miles. But in a league where every rising star gets measured against the one who came before her, is that even possible right now? Or is this comparison going to follow her for the rest of her career? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below.